Welcome back. Here's some fun and delicious breakfast ideas. Lots of quick and easy meals. We've got sweet and savory foods. It's all going to be recipes that you prepare the night before, so there's close to nothing to do the morning of, but it's not going to be a lot of work the night before. No worries. Feel free to click like, that helps me out tremendously. So thank you so much if you just did that. And now let's begin. All right, let's start this off with some overnight oats. But not just any average overnight oats. These, my friends, are some blended Nutella Flavored Overnight Oats. They almost have a chocolate mousse texture to them. Obviously not the exact consistency as chocolate mousse, but definitely headed in that direction, I would say. First things first, I made myself some good night tea because this was in fact filmed at night. I recently got myself a video light and I'm just so in love with it. Anyway, grab a blender and blend up all the ingredients. That's all you gotta do. Quick cooking oats, hazelnut butter. If you can't find hazelnut, go for peanut, almond, or cashew, but that will of course affect the flavor in the end. Add some unsweetened cacao powder. You didn't see that? Some vanilla and some ground up flax seeds. As for sweetener, I went for brown rice syrup. And my milk was oat milk. Pour this into 2 little containers of some sort. Ramekins maybe, breakfast bowls, glasses. If you're taking this with you somewhere, go for a jar that you have a fitting lid for. But yeah, make sure you put that lid on, or a plate, or some cling foil, and then let it sit in the fridge overnight. Now the next morning, we're just gonna be a little fancy and add some toppings. Some vegan yogurt, some raspberries perhaps, roasted hazelnuts. These last in the fridge, provided they're covered for 2 to 3 days. Oh, you know, something that would be really good here? You could warm up a bit of actual plant-based Nutella and drizzle that on top. Maybe add some banana as well. I haven't done a green smoothie in a minute. I know a smoothie is already a super quick breakfast, but this is just a little meal prepping hack that ensures that your smoothie making process will be even more frictionless in the morning. The night before, I'm chopping up 2 apples, green apples, because I really like the tartness that these guys come with. And then I'm just gonna add everything except for the milk or water to a freezing bag. So the apple slices, some dates. Mine weren't super soft, and so I just let them soak in water for like 10 minutes prior to adding them to the bag. And then as for greens, this is a very bold choice, I know, but I added some baby arugula because I just had so much of it left over and it needed to go. You could also add some leftover lettuce. I've actually never done that before, but I could see that working. Here I'm squeezing some lemon juice into the bag. Make sure to catch all the pits. So perhaps it's smarter to squeeze the lemon over a bowl first. I'm adding a handful of walnuts, which you could also do a tablespoon of nut butter. Some cinnamon, why not? Anything to distract from the flavor of the greens is good. And so the next morning, I'm transferring everything to my blender. Plus, then I'm also adding some non-dairy milk. This makes for 1 huge smoothie or 2 smaller ones, which you can have alongside the overnight oat mousses. The arugula flavor was definitely present, but honestly I didn't hate it. For a little brunch, my friend Lottie and I had the overnight oats, the smoothies of course, and then a couple of other things that I made for a different project. Very miscellaneous stuff, but it all tasted really good. Moving on to some delicious wraps inspired by this ready-made chickpea wrap I had recently. Once again, prep time starts the night before. Chop up a few vegetables. We've got a piece of celery here, a small yellow onion, and this lengthy, sweet red pepper. So it's not a spicy one. Also some black olives go in here. Even though I'm not the biggest olive fan out there, I really like them in this dish. Cut them up finely as well, and then bring a skillet with a bit of oil to medium-high heat. Add your veggies, saute them for about 6 minutes. Then add a teaspoon of sesame seeds and give that another 2 minutes or so before adding some lemon juice, soy sauce, and a tiny bit of agave or maple syrup. Also, if you want some fresh herbs in this, add some. I went for basil. Set that aside and grab a strainer, because next we're gonna rinse and mash up half a can of chickpeas. Add the sauteed vegetables to the mashed beans, as well as a couple tablespoons of store-bought hummus. Mix that all up. Taste test to make sure it's not poison, and then put together your wraps. Now, if you really have zero time in the morning, then you can toast these up the night before as well. But I prefer doing that just right before eating. And so we're just gonna wrap these up in foil for now. And yeah, leave them in the fridge overnight. And then the next morning, warm these up however you want. I used my grilling pan, or what's left of my grilling pan, to toast these. I toasted up the wraps for 2 minutes on each side. You could serve them with a dipping sauce of some kind. Maybe some more hummus, some vegan mayonnaise, sriracha, but these are also so good on their own. So for this next idea, I tried recreating another product. This one's by Pamela Reif. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's this up-and-coming workout influencer person. And these are her peanut butter chocolate nut clusters that I tested out recently. And I was honestly so surprised by how good these were. And I really just wanted to make a copycat version of this. The night before, grab a 20 centimeter square-shaped pan and line it with parchment paper. Also preheat that oven to 150 degrees Celsius. Then to a small saucepan, add some smooth peanut butter, some liquid sweetener. I'm using rice syrup here, but any other sweetener works, of course. Also add some salt, some vanilla, which Pamela doesn't use vanilla, but I like vanilla, so that's what's gonna go in here. Turn the heat to medium and mix it up. Once it's all combined, add the last 2 ingredients, some puffed quinoa. I bet you could also do puffed rice. And some peanuts, some roasted unsalted peanuts. Mix it all up. Give that another minute or 2 on the stove, and then transfer this to your prepared baking dish. Use a silicone spatula to press everything down tightly. And then bake this for 15 minutes. This was my first batch. It turned a little dark, but still really good. As the nuts are cooling down, go ahead and melt down some dark chocolate. This is my personal favorite method, so I just place my chocolate chunks inside an oven-safe bowl, and then I put that into the oven at 150 degrees Celsius, so the same temperature as we used for the nuts, for 5 minutes exactly. Then I take it out and leave it on the stove to rest for another 5 minutes. And then I go in with a spoon and mix everything up until fully melted. Cover the bake in the chocolate, of course, and then let this sit on the counter or in the fridge overnight. The next morning, cut this into chunks. This makes for a whole lot of clusters. Store these sealed in the fridge for up to 2 weeks. So yeah, these will last you a long time. But since this is supposed to be a breakfast video, you can add these to your bowl of yogurt in the morning, for example, with some banana slices perhaps, and an iced latte on the side. I would highly recommend these. They're so fun to eat. I want to say they are pretty close to the original. To make them taste even more like Pamela's, I would go for a deep roast natural peanut butter next time. Recipe number 5 would be another savory breakfast option. You know, I've made polenta porridge plenty of times on here, but I've actually never made polenta slices. This one's got a nice spinach pizza twist to it. It's so good. Bring a small to medium-sized skillet to medium heat. I would recommend using a pan that has higher walls than mine. Add some olive oil to it. Once that's hot, add 1 small chopped onion plus a generous pinch of chili flakes. Let it all saute for about 5 minutes. And then add some spinach, plus a tiny bit of water. Be careful of oil splashes, so maybe take a step back. Let the spinach wilt down for a minute or two and set that aside. Now to a small to medium-sized pot, add some water and lots of vegetable broth powder. Bring everything up to a boil, and once the broth is boiling, add your polenta. Mix all throughout as you're pouring in the polenta, and then also add some vegan Parmesan cheese. That can be homemade Parmesan cheese or store-bought. It can also be skipped though. Keep stirring as everything is thickening up for another 1 to 2 minutes, and then turn off the heat and add your spinach mix, as well as a bit of white wine vinegar or lemon juice. And then transfer this to another 20 centimeter baking dish. Again, one that's been lined with parchment paper. Smooth out the top a bit. Lastly, grab some pizza sauce or just some normal tomato sauce and add a couple scoops of that on top of the still warm polenta. And now, using a knife or a spoon, swirl the tomato sauce into the polenta a bit, kind of like you would in my pumpkin brownie recipe. So now it's the next morning. Cut your polenta into slices. You can either serve it cold, and so if you have 0 time in the morning, then this option is for you. But if you've got like 5 minutes, then go ahead and do this next step, because that's gonna make this all taste a million times better. Bring a pan with a bit of oil up to medium-high heat, and then let your chosen polenta pieces fry for about 2 minutes on each side. Now, whether fried or unfried, feel free to add some toppings here, perhaps some hummus, some black beans, tomatoes, basil, whatever you have on hand, some hot sauce maybe, some extra vegan cheese, avocado, greens. And that brings us to the end of this video. One more thing, I would love to film a video on study or work snack ideas next. Quick things that you can either make ahead of time or prepare within 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm still open to suggestions, so feel free to leave your idea in the comments down below. That would be super helpful. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest to your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!